the much more difficult poem to read. And remember when I said modernism could be an elitist movement and it embraces difficulty and challenge. And that is what Eliot does with The Hollow Man. It starts with two allusions. One from Mr. Kurt's He Dead from The Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad, and the other A Penny for the Old Guy, which is related to Guy Fawkes Day, which is a particular kind of holiday based on a historical event in England. Eliot's poetry is highly elusive, highly fragmented, and instead of trying to make like linear sense of what, I would just encourage you to kind of try and get a sense of like the tone or the things that this poem evokes. Starts with, we are the hollow men, we are the stuffed men. Um, we're hollow inside. There's nothing inside of us. We're empty. We don't have any wonderful thoughts or things like that. He says we're filled with straw. And we'll come back to that. And then we get these kind of like terrible images of rats' feet over broken glass. Death's other kingdom. People who have crossed into death's other kingdom, people who have died, remember us, if at all, not as lost violent souls, but only as the hollow men. So the dead themselves like don't think very highly of us. They think that we're empty inside. And we get this kind of nightmare landscape. Part 2, Eyes I Dare Not Meet in Dreams. We're back again in Death's Dream Kingdom. We see a broken column. We have this faint hint of wind. He says, let me wear deliberate disguises, crow skin, cross staves in a field. Okay, that is a scarecrow. Remember, we're going back to that. We're hollow men and we're stuffed with straw. We get this image of the scarecrow, that we are kind of like nothing. And the place we are in is this dead land, the cactus land. Like it's like a desert. That's cactus land. It's dry. There's no river. Think of the landscape in Child Roll Into the Dark Tower Came, and that is very much where we are, but we are not going to get that like go for it ending that Child Rolling gets. We're in the nightmare landscape, but there's really no getting out of it. We're in a place with no water, no nourishment, no rejuvenation. It's just dry and barren, nothingness. The eyes are not here. We're in the Valley of Dying Stars. We're in a hollow valley. We're sightless, so we can't see anything. Now, that means probably not literally sightless, but it means more like we have no insight, we have no wisdom, because, right, there's nothing in our heads but straw. We're empty. So we are empty men. There's nothing inside us. And this, I realize it's small, but I wanted to get it all on one page. The last section is very fragmented, and we see Eliot doing something that he'll do a lot, which he juxtaposes something that we might say is from like low culture or popular culture, which is a nursery rhyme. Here we go round the prickly pear, prickly pear. This is mulberry bush, but he changes it a little bit. So we get this nursery rhyme that is something children would sing. And then we get, for thine is the kingdom, right? Part of the Lord's Prayer. Notice we don't get the full prayer. We only get fragments of it because we're not capable of getting full religious absolution in Eliot's world. We're only capable of a tiny fragment. And then we get the shadow, right? Between, right, these things, the idea and the reality, etc., the conception and the creation involves the shadow. So this idea that we're separated between these things are separated, these things are no longer connected. Notice how the little snippet from the Lord's Prayer gets even shorter, right? For thine is the kingdom, for thine is, life is, for thine is the, gets even more fragmented, more short, less connection. Like all these little fragments and snippets and pieces in this poem show us that society is the modern society, modern civilization is the dry, dusty place with no rejuvenation. We have no insights. We have nothing in our heads. Like, look at even what's in our head at this end of, we just have scraps of nursery rhymes and a prayer that we can't even fully remember. And we end with, this is the famous ending, this is the way the world ends. This is the way the world ends. This is the way the world ends. Not with a bang, but a whimper. The world isn't going to end like Yeats's apocalyptic vision of the Sphinx monster coming back and probably killing us all. Or it's not going to end in war. It's just going to peter out as our civilization dries up and kind of floats away and everything falls to pieces. It's not going to end with a bang. It's going to end with a whimper. It's just going to kind of leave. So even our end isn't going to be gloriously tragic. It's just going to be kind of like blah, because that's what our society is like. I do want to say this, not all modernist poetry, although a lot of it is this depressing. And people like Eliot and Auden specifically, right, did not maintain their level of depression about society and civilization. Both Eliot and Auden later in their lives will go through explicit religious conversions and write other poems that are more filled with happiness and positivity. But when they were working in the modernist period, their poems were definitely not, right? We see that despair, we see that perception that civilization is just in disarray, that modern society breaks down the individual, that individuals are alienated from modern society. We can see the elitism of a lot of modernist literature. This is not meant for masses of people to read. This is meant for only a select kind of elite few to read. We see all of those things in this poetry. And you can also see, I want to say something about the Hollowmen too. We do have kind of some rhyme. There are parts of it that have meter, but it's mostly unrhymed and unmetered. This is free verse, which is also a new kind of poetry in the modernist period. In the same way that stream of consciousness is a new way of narrating the novel, and they're both pretty difficult to follow. So modernists have not only challenging ideas, they have very challenging ways of expressing those ideas. So I hope this helps with some of the poetry. As always, you can email me or text me if you have questions. And hopefully this should also help as you work on studying for the final. Thank you.